Hello and welcome to another episode of Backyard Farmer. I'm Kim Todd and I'll be your host for the next hour of answering those gardening questions. We'll be taking your phone-in questions too if you dial 1-800-676-5446. If you'd like to send us a picture or an email for a future show, that address is byf@unl.edu. Please give us plenty of information about your question, including where you live. Before we get started, I would like to invite you to our YouTube channel where you can enjoy all those past programs, sharpen that knowledge by watching our video features. We also have a great fan page on Facebook, so please check those out after the show. And Jody, let's start with samples with you.
I brought ladybugs. So I went out to the oak tree at our office and I was standing underneath and the first thing I saw were lady beetles of all different life stages. And they're easy to spot because they're bigger, but when you see those, it means there's prey nearby. And we are having an aphid spring, very aphidy. And so I was covered in aphids, but you can see all different life stages here. So the larvae of the lady beetles look like little alligators. They've got spines and they can eat, the adults and the larvae can eat like 50 aphids per day. So you kind of want to keep them there. And this is what is important, why you don't want to do broad spectrum insecticides for aphids, because there are natural enemies out there. And then the pupa, they don't move, but you can see some of them there that are pupa stage. You want to leave those alone because they'll turn into adults, which will also feed on the prey.
They're just perfect and lovely.
Yeah, and then I put this in there before I left Omaha, and the adult laid eggs. And so those eggs are going to be these orange yellowy kind of things. You want to leave those there too.
Perfect. All right, Terri, the weed is taller than you are.
Oh, not quite, but close. So we were in the Backyard Farmer garden today with master gardeners, and this just happened to jump out right at me. So this is Western Salsify. This is something that if you see it, you probably want to get rid of it. It will kind of take over. Lots of times we'll see this a little bit later. These are the big, huge dandelion heads that kind of get all airy and people blow all over the place. But they also call this the vegetable oyster. Evidently, you can take the root and it tastes like an oyster. Not gonna try it, so if you want to, evidently you can, but probably wouldn't recommend it. But this is just an interesting weed, and I just kind of wanted to bring it and let everybody see it.
Excellent, thank you much. All right, also from the Backyard Farmer garden, Kyle.
I wasn't going to say anything about it, but because actually this is showing up in quite a few places now. I think there's been 3 people this week who have shown me pictures of their penstemon of all different varieties, and there's these little spots that are showing up on them. Some are yellow, some are orange, some are just more rust colored, and it is rust. You know, it's on the top of the leaves, we do have these kind of raised dark red or orange lesions. But then on the underside of the leaf, you can actually see the ascia. And those are the structures where the little where the spores will actually shoot out. And so that tells us that these are actively sporulating. All the other penstemon in the area that don't already have it will. As far as what to do about it, really nothing. There are some broad spectrum fungicides that may knock it back, but you're not going to be happy with the control, and it really tends not to be a major problem. And unlike some of our other rusts, this one does not have an alternate host, and so we don't need to worry about this moving on to your cedar trees or anything else. It's just one of those things that shows up, and if you can like spray painted orange penstemon, even better. And you may even wonder what's the story with the morning glory. I just thought it looked cool.
All right, thank you, Kyle.
So I'm actually marking them in the garden.
Scott.
Okay.
Scott, Terri, be quiet.
Sorry.
It's samples. Scott, what in the world?
Last week, a lot of the picture questions that I was working with had damage to the trunk of the trees. And talking to a fellow nurseryman tonight, he recommended to talk about protecting the trees because we're putting in a lot of new trees this season because of the storms that we've had. So we want to protect our investments. I talk a lot about hardware cloth, and this is just an example. It's a metal mesh, 1/4 inch square. It's really great to keep those critters and the weed whackers from the trunk. But then when you start working with these, you want to make sure that you stick them in the ground with a landscape staple to make sure that like rabbits or critters don't dig underneath, so that way you can protect your investment.
Excellent. And make sure they're wide enough that they're not.
Yes, make sure that it's wide enough to don't choke
Awesome.
anybody.
Nice job, all. And by the way, the timer wasn't working. That's why I had to yell at you guys. All right, 2 questions for you. Two pictures on the first question, Jody. This comes to us from Beatrice. This is a group of very observant children who saw this as they were leaving school. They wonder what this is, and is it a good guy or a bad guy? Beautiful pictures.
It is a good guy. It's so beautiful. This is a beautiful Luna moth, and it is very mothy out too. All the adults are emerging, so this one's a male moth. It actually doesn't feed as an adult. It only lives like a week, and it has no functional mouth.
Yeah, that's just not fair because it's so pretty.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful. All right, and you have 2 pictures on the next one. This viewer was told to send this to you, found it on the floor, put it in a medicine bottle, and forgot about it.
Okay, 2 things. If you found it on the floor, it came off of something, because that is a very engorged tick. And so if it is gonna fall off a host, it means it is fed for over a week. So if you have an animal, like a dog, maybe get the dog treated for ticks, because this indicates that it is not treated yet. If it didn't come off your dog, I don't know who it came off of, but that's a mystery. So I can't tell which species of tick it is because I can't see the scutum, which is by where the mouth part would be. But yeah, that's the exact
Tick the size of a
opposite.
quarter. Oh my goodness. All right, and 2 pictures on the next one, Jody. This comes to us from rural western Oto County. Thinning out some plants in the garden, pulled this out, and the root was covered with, he said, eggs in quotes. She thought they were moving, and then he thought, well, are these aphids underground, or are they ant eggs, or what are they, and will they spread?
Correct with the aphids. So these are root aphids. They're aphids that feed on the roots. And usually, some plants, they don't do any damage, and if you're thinning them out anyway, shouldn't be a problem.
All right, I've never heard of them either, but that's kind of fun.
There are ants under there that will farm them as well, so they might have seen ants as well.
All right, Terry, you actually have 4 pictures on this one. This is a Southeast Lincoln viewer wondering what's happening with the lawn. Yellow striping showed up about 10 days ago. The lawn was mowed 14 days before that. The front, and I think the front is the last picture here, doesn't seem to show the same thing, and this is Lincoln.
Yeah, so I looked at this, and we've had this a couple of times already this year. I think it might be a disease, so that would fall over to Kyle, but then I look at it again and think it's not. So it could be ascocida, but I don't know. I couldn't necessarily see anything. So basically what I'm going to tell you is it's too late to treat for it anyway. So I'm going to give you good management. So I need you to make sure that you are giving it good water. And I understand that we've gotten quite a bit of rain right now, and that could lead to it because it kind of shows up, this disease, if it gets from really wet to really dry and back and forth. So that could be part of it. But make sure that you're mowing in different directions. Do some aeration. Make sure that you're not over fertilizing. Make sure that you're doing at least 1 inch of rain a week, and make sure that it's getting deep and that you have really good root system. So that should come out of it once you kind of do all those management processes.
Yeah, and if it is ascocida, which I'm not entirely sure, there would expect to see a lot more kind of needle tips on the blades, but there is no fungicide necessary. It's entirely take care of the root issues and the root stress, and it will come out of it within 2 weeks and you'll be fine.
All right, excellent. Terry, 2 pictures on the next one. This is the Exarban neighborhood in Omaha. He's wondering if this grass plant will make it through the summer, and he wonders what it is. Not a great picture, but...
Yeah, I think it's little blue stem. It should make it through the summer, but you should have managed it a little bit better in the spring. So late spring, right before it starts greening up, you need to cut all that brown back so that the new growth can grow through that. So basically what you have is the dead from last year that the new is growing through it. So if you can kind of trim off that, it should be good to go, and it'll be a nice ornamental for you.
Excellent. All right. Kyle, 2 pictures on this first one. This is from Ainsworth. She's calling these bulges on her chokecherry leaves.
Yeah, and at first I thought that this might be chokecherry leaf gall, but then looked a little bit closer, and especially some of the newer growth looks really deformed. We can't see it too well in these pictures. I think it's chokecherry leaf curl, and so we see that fairly commonly on peaches. A peach leaf curl, it's a fungus that is closely related to what shows up on peaches. Tophrina wisnarii is the one that shows up on chokecherry. It's one of those things that shows up every once in a while. Really no control is necessary. If it is a high value tree, one of our broad spectrum fungicides will help, but pruning is probably the most effective thing for it.
All right, 2 pictures on the next one. This is something wrong with the branches on this magnolia, so he's wondering here. I think we have another one that shows what else is going on, and should he cut these out, or what's going on here?
These are some pretty large cankers issues that we're seeing here. I'm not entirely sure what canker it is, but for the most part, it doesn't matter what the canker is. Treatment is the exact same. I would probably think about getting rid of these branches because they will be compromised in those areas. So you'll want to prune those out. Prune down about at least 6 to 8 inches down past the branch from where healthy tissue looks, because that fungus will be growing into that healthy tissue. It's not just there in the canker.
All right, and one more, and this is a viewer that has new cedar garden beds, Jubilee tomato plants. Top 8 to 12 inches is Miracle Grow garden soil, and then there's cheap soil and branches, but he's seeing leaves turning purple, and then he's added some tomato feed, but it hasn't made any difference.
Yeah, I think that this is an environmental and nutritional issue. There are a couple viruses that can give tomatoes a purple tint, but I'm not seeing the leaf curl or anything that's associated with that. The cool weather that we've had tends to tie up some of those nutrients in the soil, and I think that's just what we're dealing with. Wait and see, and I bet it will grow out of it once we return to kind of more normal weather for this time of year.
Excellent. All right, 3 pictures for you, Scott, on this first one. This is autumn purple ash, and one of them is looking pretty sad. This is Sarpy County. So they're wondering, they don't see any D-shaped holes. They don't know what else to look for EAB. Is it drought? Anything that you're seeing here?
When it comes to emerald ash tree borer, those D-shaped holes are going to be in the upper quarter to a third of the canopy, so it's unlikely you're actually going to see them. I'm leaning more towards drought injury. Environmental stress on trees are always quick to manifest. It can take anywhere from 3 to 5 years. We've been in a drought for quite a few years now. The best thing to do is to deep water the tree. Ash trees do enjoy water, and just try to keep the tree healthy.
All right, thank you, Scott. You have 3 pictures on the next one. This comes to us from Underwood, Iowa. Any idea what is up with their redbud? It was perfect this spring until recently.
Redbuds are one of the trees that are extremely sensitive to herbicide. It doesn't take a lot to cause this type of damage. It can bleach out the leaves and cause the leaves to cup and curl. And so this is a classic herbicide injury to our redbud.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Well, turning your compost pile is an important part of the process of making it. But if you hear buzzing, you might want to turn and run or investigate a little deeper. That's what happened to us out at the Backyard Farmer Garden recently, and Judy Wu-Smart is going to show us what was under that plant waste.
So we are here in the Backyard Farmer Garden. This is a compost bin that they use for weeding and cleaning up some of the garden scraps. And I was called in to help alleviate the issue of a bumblebee nesting in this compost bin. Bumblebees, there are about 49 species in North America. In our state alone, we have about 20 species, but they are ground nesting social bees, so they like to dig into the ground or sometimes into a nice pile of vegetation like this. They usually burrow about 6 to 9 inches, so you can see here we've got already some holes, some entrances where they're going in and out. We had some recent rain, so some of that has kind of compacted down. But if you look right here, we've got a number of bumblebees kind of exploring the top surface of their nest, and they're kind of the ones that are on guard. So if anyone is disturbing the nest, they will quickly chase you out of this area, which is why I'm here. I'm here to help remove the nest and relocate it to somewhere safe. We know from looking at these workers right here, what we have here is Bombus bimaculatus, which is the two-spotted bumblebee. It's one of the most common ones that we find. It's also a species that is not in decline. It's pretty stable. There's a number of them in the state that are threatened, endangered, or their range is starting to shrink. We see less and less of them, but this is not one of them. Now, bumblebees are a little bit different than honeybees. They are a little bit more aggressive. They can sting multiple times, so their tolerance for being annoyed is much lower than what you would do with honeybees. I can bother and work honeybees much more easily without getting them to that level of wanting to sting and defend their colony. So we do have to be careful. When we are extracting these colonies, we have to be fully suited up. We have to wear the right veil, the gloves, and that's because they don't die after stinging. They can continually sting. And of course, when you get stung, it is quite painful. So we are going to be very careful removing the colony. With these bumblebee colonies, they start off with an overwintered queen that will nest in another location when she comes out in the spring. And for this species, they come out as early as March or April. They'll come out, start foraging for resources, nectar and pollen from these plants. Queens love willow and plum, early season pollen producing plants and shrubs. The workers themselves are going to be helping themselves to the columbine, delphinium, larkspur, lots of other plants, a lot that you see here blooming. So this is an ideal location for them to nest, real close to their food resources. This colony starts off kind of in April and peaks in July. So we expect that the colony won't be too large, maybe 20 to 50 individuals. At peak, they'll get to about 200 to 400. So hopefully it won't be too big for us to remove.
Glad you got it out.
This kind of discovery turned into a lot of smiles out in the garden this week. And we are happy to report that the nest will go on tour to educate others in the state about the importance of bumblebees. That was really cool, especially since nobody got stung. All right, 3 pictures for you, Jody, on this one. This is a Lincoln viewer. She found 2 different creatures feasting on her lilacs. This is the first one, and then she's wondering what is the best method to stop these and other vicious attackers.
Okay, that little spot, I don't know what that is. But the other one is a caterpillar, and it looks like an oblique banded leaf roller because it looks like the leaf was rolled over it, and it turns into a moth. And then the third picture, it looks like a combination of tatters and some feeding, so it just looks like caterpillar feeding. But at this time where there's blooms, I wouldn't do anything about it. So.
And really not much
it doesn't
damage
look
anyway.
that bad.
Yeah, okay.
So.
3 pictures on this one, Jody. This is Lincoln, and she's saying, he's saying the tree is completely infested. This is a Siberian elm. It's happened over this last several years. He thinks they're weevils. I think we have 2 more pictures on this. He has a garden nearby that includes vegetables that they will eat, so he's wondering whether he should treat? Is there a safe systemic that could be spread, or do we just not worry?
Okay, so a few questions there. So these, the damage are done by the European elm flea weevil. So yes, it's a weevil, but these weevils are not the same ones that will damage anything in your vegetable garden, so you don't have to worry about that. This is the larvae that is doing the leaf mining in those leaves. That little tiny beetle is not the weevil though, so that's a different insect altogether. If you do want to do a systemic, then it would be early, very early, next year. It would be imidacloprid would be the active, and then you would do that around the elm tree. You just want to make sure it's not, you read the label and it's not close to the garden.
All right, thanks, Jody. Terri, you have 3 pictures on this first one. This is a Gretna viewer. They just moved into a new home. Sod in the yard is over clay soil, and that is true of the landscape areas. They have standing water, difficult to dig. They're wondering, are there any soil amendments that they could incorporate to break down the clay soils so they'd have better drainage?
Yeah, so you're going to do quite a bit of management here, and that's basically what's going to help you control this and get your soil going. What I would recommend is aeration in the fall. It's getting a little too late. I don't want you to kind of damage the grass right now. So aeration in the fall. Once you do that, then I want you to spread about 1 inch to 2 inches of compost across there. And that's actually going to work down into those holes of the aeration, and that will help add that compost and start breaking down and adding to that clay soil that you have. The other thing that I'm going to have you do is make sure that you're mowing as high as you possibly can so that those roots start pushing down into that soil too. And then your water problem, at least 1 inch of water a week. But if it's standing, then I want you to do kind of a on, off. So turn it on. Once it starts setting, turn it off, let it soak in, and then do it again. In the landscape beds, you're not going to be able to aerate, so I want you to go take a pitchfork and just try to kind of break up some of that, and then put the compost on, and then put the mulch on. So those are going to be the management that you're going to have to do, and this is going to take you a couple years, but I promise you, if you do this, your soil will be really nice. If you want to visit the Backyard Farmer Garden, this is exactly what we did, and our soil is very nice out there.
All right. One picture on the next one. This is from Omaha. She's been converting some of the turf to areas for pollinators, had a retaining wall done, and there was damage. She's wondering about clover or micro-clover in this location.
So one of the things that I kind of forewarn people about for clover and micro-clover, especially if that's all you're going to put in, is that there is nothing there to hold the soil in place in the wintertime. So what I would recommend is actually just make this into a landscape bed. Just start putting some of your pollinators and stuff out there. It looks to me maybe about a 16-foot wide. You could do some small shrubs and just make a really nice planting in there. And that's really what I would do and recommend.
All right, and 2 more for you, Terri. This is a Lincoln viewer who saw this beautiful grass in a planting bed surrounded by concrete, and they wonder, what is it, and could it be a good one for a perennial garden?
This is Foxtail Barley, and no, you do not want this. You really need to get this out of there. It can move about. If you see this out in pastures and stuff, it's really something that they want to get rid of quickly, and it will move about on birds and stuff, so just get rid of it.
All right. Let's see, Kyle, you have 3 pictures on the first one. This viewer wants to know what is going on with one of 4 burning bushes on the property.
Yeah, I would like to know as well. Whatever is going on I don't think it's anything that we can actually see here. I know the next picture is going to show some leaf spots, things like that. I think this is a root issue that is manifesting itself above ground, as pretty much all root issues do. I wonder if there's not something that was, maybe something underneath the burning bush that's preventing the roots from growing. Maybe there is maybe a critter was feeding on them. Maybe we have some sort of disease. Something with the roots is most likely what's going on there. I would not at all worry about those leaf spots, but yeah, as far as what to do with those roots problems, I don't know.
All right, 2 pictures on the next one. This is a viewer who bought a katsura tree and noticed this on the foliage on it and seeing the same thing on a peach tree now.
Yeah, so this one's strange. Katsura trees aren't terribly common around here anyway. And when you look at things up, there's no diseases that are really described on them. I wonder if this isn't some sort of nutritional issue, if it is stuck to a single branch. Maybe there is a canker or something like that. It doesn't look fungal to me. I would be glad to take a sample. And whatever is going on with the peach tree, if it is a fungus, anything like that, it's not the same thing on the peach tree. It's most likely environmental.
All right, and 2 more for you. And this one is an issue with lilac.
Mm-hmm.
So west-facing backyards, did say insects and a little bit of white coating on the leaves, but I think the real issue is the droop here.
Yeah, and I know we've talked a little bit about ash yellows, and I don't think that's what's going on here. I know here we have a picture of the white, and then if you zoom in, there's some insects that are thrips. We decided, but as far as what's going on with that droop, again, it's that entire cane. I would be curious, what does the bottom of that cane look like? Is there a canker, anything like that? Regardless of what's going on, I would probably just prune that cane out and then hope that it rejuvenates just fine.
All right, thank you, Kyle. 2 pictures, Scott, for you on the first one. This is a Fremont viewer. They were planted in 2018 or 19, and they're now 20 feet tall. And this was obviously in the March 19th blizzard. And the second one is they are wet with rain and wondering whether they will straighten themselves back up.
It could be worthwhile staking them, just because it can take anywhere from 6 months to a year before the tree can fully recover. But giving it a little bit of a push in the right direction, unless you like the Dr. Seuss hat look.
Exactly. All right, 2 pictures on the next one also, Scott. This is actually Alaska cedars. So this is not the cedars that we are all used to. They were planted 13 years ago. Past couple years, they're looking like this, not getting better. He's saying plenty of water.
I had to look this one up. I was not familiar with this tree, but when I did, I was kind of shocked to find that it was growing here. It's native to the Pacific Northwest, and it clearly stated that it likes cool, humid, damp conditions, and Omaha is not. So I imagine that the environmental stress is just starting to take its toll.
All right, 1 picture on the next one. This is an Allen, Nebraska viewer. She's calling this honey locust young and healthy, and another picture that I did not give you shows decent foliage, but this is the trunk, and she's wondering, is this tree worth keeping, saving, or moving?
It's not worth keeping. Go ahead and take it out.
All right, and 1 more, and this is a Madrid viewer. Catalpa tree, they've grown from a seedling, 3 main trunks coming from the ground. Should she cut 2 off?
Yes, find the most dominant stem and take the other couple out.
All right, excellent. Nice job, all. Well, since our garden has been mostly planted, we're hoping for great weather to help those plants get off to a good start. Before we go to a break, let's take a minute to hear from Gannon Rush from UNL's High Plains Regional Climate Center about what's coming up for next week.
Thanks, Kim. We have a bit of summertime in store for us this week. Temperatures will begin to heat up on Friday with highs near 80 degrees statewide. From Saturday through Monday, I would not be surprised if several places broke into the 90s. On Tuesday and Wednesday, cooler temperatures will slowly begin to push in from the western portions of the state. Rain is once again in the forecast, with over 1.5 inches possible in the northwest and southeast corners. This is most likely going to occur on Tuesday and Wednesday, but a few scattered showers over the weekend is possible. The drought monitor showed a positive response to the cooler temperatures and above normal precipitation, with 1 category improvements in the central and western portions of the state. Areas along the southern border that missed this rain did see some degradations, however. And that's your weekly weather forecast. Back to you, Kim.
Thanks, Gannon. We're going to take that short break now. Coming up, we have the plants of the week and the lightning round. There's much more Backyard Farmer right after this. Of course, right now, it is time for the lightning round. All right, Scott, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. We have a viewer who wants to know whether yard waste composting can be speeded up with more moisture or less moisture.
You don't want to get it super soggy, so just keep it damp.
All right, and the same person is asking, what about adding soil fertilizer or some compost starter thing you can buy in the garden centers?
The compost starters are a great feel-good item, but just a scoopful of soil will help.
All right. We have a viewer who says their bulb foliage is already all yellowed. Can they dig? And if so, should they hold or just leave them in place till fall?
Leave them in place till fall.
All right. Should containers of annuals and perennials be fertilized if people are using a 6-month container soil that already has things in it?
No.
All right. Will pinching the tops of spindly beefsteak tomatoes cause them to branch and produce more, or just make them short?
Give it a go and see what happens.
All right. Nice job. Okay, Kyle, you ready?
Always ready.
Sure. Let's see.
We pretend, right?
We do. Your first one, this is an Omaha viewer who is wondering what the window is for spraying for Rhizosphaera needlecast.
You missed the first spray. I would wait until next year. Yeah, next spring.
All right. We have also an Omaha viewer, has bur oaks, and the early growth was really distorted, and now it seems fine. Would that be herbicide or pathology?
It is most likely herbicide, and then just the second flush of leaves came out when the whatever chemistry wasn't present.
All right. And this is a viewer who saw the thing on ash yellows, and they're wondering whether that would appear as distorted tips on goldenrod or asters.
It easily could, yes.
All right. So after the rains, shrooms keep appearing around all the tree stumps and roots. This viewer wants to know, why don't the morels reappear?
Because they're morels and they're finicky and picky, and it's too hot for them now. That's just what it is.
All right. This viewer has such terrible powdery mildew on the roses that they have no foliage. Should they treat for powdery mildew?
You could. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, but if you would want to, a broad spectrum fungicide like chlorothalonil would work.
All right. Nice job. Okay, Terry, ready?
Sure.
This is a Pinewood Springs, Colorado viewer at 6,500 feet elevation. He wants to know how to control weeds and grasses in his flagstone patio. He's been using vinegar, but just household. Something stronger?
Yeah, there's a horticultural vinegar that you would have to use. The household vinegar won't work.
All right. We have a viewer who has European buckthorn that came up in her yard, and she's wondering, is that a plant that you would want to keep or kill?
If you don't want it there, kill it.
It's invasive. Kill it. All right. This is a Lewisburg, Kansas viewer who came up and toured your garden, our garden, and saw the tomato towers, and of course wants to buy them.
I'm sorry, they were a COVID casualty and you can't get them anymore.
All right. This is a viewer who said the neighbor's beggar's ticks came up all over the garden and the lawn. Should they mow them or pull them?
I would probably pull them, is probably what I would do.
All right. So if cheatgrass goes into the compost, will it seed itself into the garden?
Only if the seeds were viable.
All right. Okay, Jody.
It's a 555. I'm not ready. I'm never ready.
Okay. We had a viewer, we had oak apple galls on the show last week. This is a Cullum, Nebraska viewer who has really nice big ones and is wondering, are they harmful?
No.
Okay. Will leaving the irrigation system off for 2 days reduce the grub and Japanese beetle population by drying the eggs out? This is Grand Island.
No, not right now, and probably not during that time either.
All right. Are you familiar with any sort of cane borer in the big hardy hibiscus? This is a Lincoln viewer who thinks a cane borer has gotten in.
I don't know the name of it, but there are a few that will tunnel into like that and like sunflower as well.
Okay, we have a Lincoln viewer who found what she thinks looks like an almost grown immature cicada. Are they early?
They're not early, but if you dug down, wait, where are they located?
Yeah, she dug down in Lincoln.
Sometimes if you dig down, they're probably feeding on roots right now for
All right.
years.
Okay. Western Otoe County, how many eggs are there in a wolf spider egg sac?
A lot.
All right. Four-way tie, so we can just, if our table spun, we could just.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy.
All right.
Is a lot an answer, though?
Yes,
well,
it is. It's an answer.
it's a lot.
We've got most of our garden planted, and it looks like those plants are off to a great start. Terry's going to give us a few tips to help keep the weeds at bay out in the backyard farmer garden.
This week in the Backyard Farmer Garden, as you can see, we talked about it last week and we've gotten most of the garden planted. We still have a little bit left to do, but we are over 75% done and we are super excited about how it's gonna look this year. Couple things that we wanna continue doing, and we wanna make sure that you're doing this in your garden also, is that we have to put our mulch down. Putting that mulch down will help protect any of that moisture because, as you all know, eventually this rain is gonna stop. And we want to make sure that we're protecting as much moisture in that soil as possible. So put any kind of mulch down you possibly can. If you're collecting your grass clippings, if you have some straw or hay, or even some wood mulch will work in your garden. So making sure getting that mulch down is very important. One of the other kind of tricks that we do here is that we plant things a little bit closer. They grow a little bit closer together, they grow a little bit faster, and that actually helps keep some of that sun out also, so that we're shading that area. Therefore, we're gonna have a few less weeds in our garden. So a few little tricks for you to be able to do to help manage the moisture and manage those seeds in the garden. So stop by the Backyard Farmer Garden this week and check it out.
And we'd love to have you visit anytime you're on East Campus in Lincoln. It won't be long before our garden will explode with that color and the produce. Right now, of course, we have plants of the week. Scott, you're up. What do we have today?
We have a great combination of purple and yellow. You just can't go wrong with it. This tall one up here, this is an iris called Fontanelle, Spirea iris, I believe. It's a really great looking plant. It has really strong stems. It's a nice clump forming and just can't go wrong with it. And then behind it, you have this is Moonshine Yarrow, just great yellow full meat flowers. And with that silver foliage, it's just a really outstanding plant.
Excellent, and a good combination together.
Yes.
All right. So, of course, we have announcements, lots of them this week. Our very first one is we are Friday live at Old Mill, and this is Sunday, June 8th in Valentine. So that'll be just fabulous. And then, of course, we, Backyard Farmer, we're going to be in Valentine as well on Tuesday, June 10th. And that will be at the Frederick Peak Golf Club, Q&A at 5:15, live taping at 6 p.m. Then we have the Monument Valley Irish Show, Saturday, May 31st, 11 to 4, and Sunday, June 1st, 12 to 4:30, UNL Research and Extension Center in Scotts Bluff. The Shady Choice Hosta Society, Sunday, June 1st, 11 to 2, the Mangelson's parking lot in Omaha. The Rose Society Show, Sunday, June 1st, noon to 4 at Lauriston Gardens. And the 56th Annual Monroe Meyer Guild Garden Walk, Sunday, June 8th in Omaha. Tickets available, so we have all sorts of things going on. Just kind of a fabulous time of year to do all sorts of things. All right, Jody, one picture on this first one. This is a young eastern white pine, Louis, that has white fuzz. What is it?
Louis has pine bark adelgid. It's kind of like an aphid-like I don't know, insect. It doesn't usually do any damage if the tree is healthy, so you can try to hose those off, and you can use horticulture oil next spring. But just keep in mind that even if you do kill the insects, that white fuzz will still be there, so it's kind of hard to tell if you actually did anything. So just keep an eye on that and keep that plant healthy.
All right. We have a Denton viewer who has eggs on a Douglas fir and curious about what they are.
I'm curious too. So what I would do is take that little piece off, put it in a container on your porch, and whenever something hatches, let me know. Maybe some cool moth.
We'll see. All right. 2 pictures on the next one. This is a Pleasantdale viewer. Brown spots on the Norway spruce, just noticed.
Okay, well, we have seen some cases of spruce needle miner, but I haven't seen any of the webbing with the patches on there. So it might not be that. I don't know if you can prune those parts off. I know there's some of those tips that look like there's maybe some feeding, or it could be something that was environmental.
All right, and 3 pictures on this one. This is an Omaha viewer. So she's calling them hail-like lesions on the leaves of a young hickory. What is it causing this, and can it be saved?
Okay, I don't know if it can be saved. It depends on the health of the tree, but these are a type of gall. So in there, they're called phylloxera, so they're kind of like an aphid-like insect as well. So if you cut those open, they may be in there. So what you want to do is try to prune those off before they actually emerge, and continue to do that. So that's some type of gall.
All right, Terry, 2 pictures on this first one. This is a Lincoln viewer. She wants to know, are these weeds?
Yeah, they are. I couldn't see the stem, but they look like hemlock, so please remove them. Make sure that you wear gloves when you do it and throw it in the garbage.
All right, 1 picture on the next one, and this was growing in the garden next to a strawberry plant. It kind of looks like spinach. She said this is all the bigger it has gotten, and this is all she had to show us.
That's what it looks like to me. I mean, you basically did what I would have told you to, is if, a plant is a weed out of place, or a weed is a plant out of place, so
Pull it
was
up.
out of place and pull it.
All right, speaking of weeds, 2 pictures on the next one. This one is starting to pop up all over the backyard. It's coming from the neighbors. What can they do besides pulling the vines? And if she sprays in the fall after the vegetables have been harvested, what should she use?
So I think this is honey vine milkweed. It's a little too small yet for me to for sure ID it, but that's what I'm pretty sure it is. Pull it. Some people say that monarchs actually can lay eggs and feed on this. I mean, that there's some research that say that they don't get as much food out of it. If you wanted to leave it, you can, but where you have it now, pulling it is the best thing. And if you make sure that you pull the whole thing and don't let it go to seed, you should be okay for next year.
All right, 2 pictures for you, Kyle, on the first one. This comes to us, Douglas, Sarpy County. This is an orange rust type thing. Will it hurt the tree, and will it affect the crabapple? And this is a really good example.
Yeah, no, this is beautiful. This is cedar Kint's rust, and so it's a close relative of cedar the very much more common cedar apple rust. Gymnosporangium claviceps is the name of this one. But yeah, it's instead of getting those nice gooey balls on the gall, we get them here on the branch. They will eventually constrict that branch enough that where we may see some death. So selective pruning would take care of that. Yes, it will go onto your pear trees, onto Kint's trees, all that stuff. But at this point, it's too late to do anything about it. So just get ready to enjoy some nice orange trees in your future.
All right, 1 picture on the next one. This comes to us from Hayes Center. Oh my, penstemons, which I believe you already have talked about.
Yeah, I would just say rewind to the beginning of this show. But this is Penstemon Rust, Puccinia pensteminosa, and it's nothing to do about it. I wouldn't worry about it. Just looks cool.
All right, 1 picture on the next one. This comes to us from West Point. What are the spots on this iris? The iris themselves bloomed early, look healthy.
Yeah, well, we are pathologists. It's an iris, it's a leaf spot. This is iris leaf spot. Diatomylenia, macrospora, very common on irises. It can be controlled with any of our broad spectrum fungicides.
All right, and one more, and this is on a carex. So foliage both this year and last year. This is a sedge.
Yeah, this looks like a rust as well. There are a couple of different rusts that can attack carex. Unfortunately, it does respond to fungicides, but good luck finding a fungicide that is labeled for carex. So really nothing to do about it. If you could try to dry that area out, avoid overhead irrigation is probably the biggest thing.
All right, thank you, Kyle. 2 pictures, Scott. For the first one, this comes to us from Craig, Nebraska. Hail, May 19th. This is what the rhubarb looks like. She knows it'll come back, but she's afraid if she pulls too many of these damaged stalks off, it will hurt productivity. Or does she pull it all and wait until next year?
The best thing to do is take out any of those petioles that have been snapped completely, get those up off the ground to help improve air circulation. But you don't want to remove too much of that plant tissue because it is trying to photosynthesize. So give it some time. It should recover, but you're not going to harvest this year.
All right, thank you, Scott. 1 picture on the next one. So this is a spirea that he is wondering about the name of, and we found it. It's Grefsheim, but it's 70 years old. He wonders, is this available, or should he just take cuttings?
It should be available. Spireas, they're a staple. You should be able to find it at the marketplace.
All right, and 2 pictures on the next one. This is also spirea. This is Banner County, Nebraska, 100 feet plus of spirea planted in 1890. We had this as lightning, but we didn't have the pictures a couple of weeks ago. What should he do?
I looked up this cemetery. It is fascinating. The history behind it is amazing. But what you might want to do is divide and conquer, do a quarter of it each year, but take out all that dead stuff. We don't want to share it. That's going to cause more problems.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Scott. Well, it's nice to go to the garden center and pick up some annuals to brighten up your home. But remember, our native perennials can stand up to the worst Nebraska weather and look absolutely gorgeous doing it. Wildflower Week, presented by the Nebraska Statewide Arboretum, is coming up next week, and we thought we'd give you a little preview.
The Nebraska Statewide Arboretum invites you to join us for Wildflower Week. In Nebraska, June starts with Wildflower Week, and we have events across the state all throughout the first week of June that you can join us for. You can go to our website, plantnebraska.org, to see those events, but we will be at events all throughout western Nebraska and the Panhandle. So you can join us Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to do all types of events, whether that is a volunteer planting in Morrill, Nebraska, a hike of Chimney Rock to see all of the wildflowers throughout the beautiful setting there, a sunset and wildflower hike and plant talk at Wildcat Hills, and even some wine and trivia at Papa Moon Vineyards and Winery in Scotts Bluff. We'll top it all off with a plant sale at the Gehring Evergreen House on Saturday morning, starting at 8:30 a.m. So you can come and buy native and well-adapted plants so you can build the wildflower garden of your dreams right at your house or your school or your park. So we hope you'll join us for Wildflower Week all throughout the state. You can go to plantnebraska.org to learn more, see the full list of events throughout the state, and head on out to see the beauty of Nebraska.
So you can check out that list of events and where they're going to be held by going to the Nebraska Statewide Arboretum's website, plantnebraska.org. All right, Jody, 2 pictures. This is La Vista. She's got white spots on her daylilies. She thought it was plant lice, and she loves them, but what can she do about it?
I'm gonna go with like what Kyle said, like it's an aphid and it's on a daylily and it's a daylily aphid. Those little white specks are the caskins or exoskeletons of the aphids. You can hose those off, you can remove or cut those leaves, and I don't know, just get rid of them that way.
She's not going to lose the daylilies over it. That's her concern.
No, you can even just wipe those off.
All right, excellent. 3 pictures on the next one, Jody. This is lots of orange insects on her phlox. We got this from 3 different people, and we found many in the backyard farmer garden. What in the world can you do about these guys?
Yeah, it's hard to do anything about them right now, especially if your phlox are around any flowering plants, but this is the phlox plant bug, and they were actually out in early May. So next year, scout very early, and when you see them, then you can treat then. You can treat with neem, you can treat with insecticidal soap, horticultural oil when it's not too hot, and get rid of them early, and then continue to monitor and treat then. Right now you can treat with neem, maybe if there's no like flowers and there's nothing else that you're worried about.
Or you can do what some of us do who get tired of it and just cut your phlox out of the garden.
Yes, I did that too. They'll grow back.
All right. Let's see, Terry, you have 2 pictures on the first one. This is, she's calling it a thick-stemmed vine full of sharp thorns, heavily wooded part of the property, and her husband ended up with a terrible rash. So she cut it off at ground level, and obviously the look it up plant thing got it pretty much wrong. So what do we think this is?
Well, I think that they got it kind of right. It is a greenbrier or a cat briar or Smilax. Basically what you want to do is you want to do what she did. She cut it at the bottom, let it grow to about a half, 6 inches to 12 inches, and then spray it with glyphosate, and you're going to have to do that 2 or 3 times.
All right, excellent. 2 pictures on the next one, Terry. This is a grass that has invaded the south end of our rain chain.
Yep, this is a wheatgrass, and if anybody's in the garden, just pull it for us. And make sure you get as much of the root as possible, and good luck.
All right, and we're a little lightning here, Kyle. So elkhorn, this is damage on tomato leaves, and then 2 pictures on this one, and then 2 pictures on the next one from Waverly, also tomatoes. So tomato.
I think it's all environmental. These first couple here look to be some sort of sun scorch, is what I would probably call it. Nothing to do about it. You have these next ones that is probably very similar to the ones that I had earlier. You know, it's the time of year you want your tomatoes to be planterific, but sometimes we do have these nutrient issues that appear, especially with some of these colder temperatures that we've had.
Well, exactly. Poor tomato plants like it hot. And
yep.
We have not had hot. All right, Scott, you have 2 pictures on this one. She's hoping this is a good flower, and she's got one of the height, and then I think your second one is of the flower.
Right, this is Chinese forget-me-not. It's a biannual, which means 1 year we're just going to have green foliage. The second year it's going to push flowers. It can self-seed, so you might want to watch out for that.
All right, 2 pictures on the next one. This is an Atlantic, Iowa viewer. These volunteers have popped up, and they're wondering how to transplant.
They're volunteer white pines. The best time to do this is going to be early spring. You're going to try to get as much of that root ball as you can. Some of them might not make it because they're really close to that sidewalk, but keep in mind white pines are a tall tree that can get up to 50 foot, about 25 foot wide.
All right, and this final one is also a white pine that's doing well. So, you know, what do we do?
We want to wait till next spring before we transplant it, but make sure that you give it plenty of space to grow.
And I think one of the fun things about those white pines is there are seedlings off white pines.
Yes,
for
they're
heaven's sakes.
seedlings, and also they're not drought tolerant, so there could be some issues there.
Right, exactly. So if and when you transplant at the right time, make sure that you water them in really
Keep them
well.
Well hydrated mulch, and but don't love them to death. We so often just give our plants too much attention and they just croak. So.
Exactly. Love them to death. I like that. All right. Well, and unfortunately, that's all the time we have for Backyard Farmer this week. We want to say thanks to everybody who submitted those questions and to our panel for another great show. Helping us on the phones this evening, we had Carol Rustad and John Cariato. Next time on Backyard Farmer, we'll be sticking to the topic of wildflowers and visiting a garden devoted to showing just how beautiful they can be. Don't forget to stop by the Backyard Farmer website at byf.unl.edu. Sign up for that monthly newsletter. As mentioned in the announcements, Friday Live will be in Valentine on Sunday, June 9th, and our live taping of Backyard Farmer will be on Tuesday, June 10th. See you in Valentine, and in the meantime, good night, good gardening, and we'll see you all next week right here on Backyard Farmer.